Now, I would like to tell you about my book based on my PhD research. The title of the book, you see, Empowerment of Women and Panchayati Raj Experiences from West Bengal. This book I published from Sharath Book Distributor or Levant Books in 2010. See, this is a very nice cover. See, very nice cover. The price of the book is 495. I would like to tell you about the book. The new millennium started with the declaration of the year of women's empowerment. The year 2001 started with the year of women's empowerment in India. This year, in 2001, is an epoch making in the history of women's empowerment. From the head of nation to the opposition leader in parliament is a woman. From the chairperson of the UPA government to the railway minister is a woman. In the beginning of new millennium, many women leaders were seen in political leadership in India. Women have attained cabinet nod for 50% reservation of seats in 3-tier Panchayati Raj institutions and also waiting for 1/3 reservation of seats in parliament and state legislatures. Though this bill has not yet been passed in last about more than 2 decades. The issue of women empowerment has now assumed the attraction of policymakers, planners, and bureaucrats worldwide. No democracy can be successful if 50% of its population remains out of the corridor of power and decision making process. This book attempts at analyzing the socio-political, cultural, educational, economic, and other constraints standing in the way of women's participation in Panchayati Raj institutions. Also, this book attempts to provide some suggestions to remove the hurdles in the way of women's effective participation. I dedicated this book to all women leaders in the state of West Bengal. The book contains 10 chapters in total. First, introduction. Second chapter, political participation and empowerment. Third chapter deals with political participation of women, an overview. Number 4, women's representation in Panchayat. In Panchayati Raj institutions, what was the participation rate of women has been dealt with in chapter 4. Chapter 5 elaborately dealt with the extension of women's empowerment. Number 6, chapter 6 deals with empowerment of women and people's perception. In 1993, twin constitutional amendment acts, the 73rd and 74th amendment acts were passed by the government of India. As a result, women in both rural and urban local bodies have got opportunity to participate in 1/3 seats, and since then women's active participation in political institutions has started. Number 7 deals with issues and problems. Number 8 I have mentioned here findings and conclusion, and then bibliography and indexes are there. You see, in this book, this book actually is my is based on my PhD work, and I was registered myself in Vidyasagar University in West Bengal, and from there, under the strict supervision of Professor Anil Kumar Jana, a renowned professor in West Bengal, in the Department of Political Science with Rural Development, I did my PhD, and on the basis of that PhD work, I brought out this book. I thought that we should not, confine any of our works or research work within only thesis paper. Rather it should be published for the future researchers, and it was based on empirical study. The study was partly historical and mainly empirical. It was based on the secondary sources of data as well as primary. The secondary sources comprise books, journals, evaluative studies and periodicals. The primary sources include government records, acts, manuals, reports and statutes. To supplement the theoretical knowledge, empirical study has also been undertaken. Primary data have been collected from the office records of Gram Panchayats, Panchayat Samitis and from the government offices. The proceedings of the meetings of Gram Panchayats, Gram Sabhas, Gram Unnayan Samitis and beneficiary committees have also been examined. Information has also been collected through in-depth interviews of the leading government officials, women representatives, members of panchayats, general voters, leaders of different political parties, women's organizations and non-government organizations with the help of an interview schedule. The survey was conducted from July 2003 to October 2006. The interview schedule was framed in Bengali so that the respondents feel free to respond conveniently. For this study, I extensively visited rural West Bengal, particularly in the district of West Bengal. And if you see that, you will be amazed that while my teacher told me to take interview of about 270 respondents, I took the interview of 520 people. See, the 39 months old long qualitative field survey began in the month of July 2003, immediately after completion of the 6th Panchayat elections in May 2003 in the state of West Bengal. For this purpose, a multi-stage random sampling method was adopted. At the initial stage, 3 blocks of the district of Paschim Medinipur were selected purposefully to find out a representative character of rural Bengal through these blocks. At the second stage, these Gram Panchayats are selected from each of the blocks. In this way, total 9 Gram Panchayats were selected from 3 blocks. At the next stage, 3 booths, Gram Sangshads or Gram Sangshads were selected from each of the Gram Panchayats. At the 4th stage, 10 voters, 5 males and 5 females from each of the booth were selected and interviewed. Thus, 10 voters, 5 males and 5 females from each booth was selected, and in this way total 270 voters, 10 voters from each booth is multiplied by 27 booths. 135 males and 135 females were selected. The researcher, myself, selected the respondents from the electoral roll used at the just concluded Panchayat elections in 2003 with the help of a table of random numbers. I have visited 9 Gram Panchayats in the district for collecting data. And so as far as my knowledge goes, it took almost 40 minutes to take interview of one respondent, and for 39 months constantly I took interview of the people. And this book is very rich. I have done extensive literature review, and this book is also based on my research of rural areas, particularly in the district of Midnapur, Paschim Midnapur. And I have understood from this study that women in rural areas, not only the political leaders, average women have very little knowledge about political affairs. Many of them were not aware of the affairs, of the political affairs going on in their Gram Panchayat or in their Panchayat offices. Many of them even do not know the name of the Panchayat Pradhan or the member of their locality. Even it was astonishing to learn that at that time, when Buddhadev Bhattacharya was the chief minister of West Bengal, many women, not only women, many men also told me that Jyoti Basu, his predecessor, was the chief minister, but actually it was not. And they do not know, many people do not know, more than 80% people at that time were not aware about the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, and what are the powers and functions of panchayats and women in particular. So this was the situation of rural women in India. And whenever I went to take interview in rural areas, many of them told me whether I have come to help them by giving them tube oils, or by giving them any relief materials, or giving them any agricultural what I say, instruments, and those are really very interesting. And I spent thousands of hours with those people, sitting on their verandas and interacting with them there. But the hospitality and the behavior I received from the rural people, particularly from women, was unimaginable. I think only it is possible in India. So I would request all the people of the world to come to India and have a taste of rural India, and the researchers will definitely be benefited from this book. Thank you.